Welcome, everyone, to another episode of In the Eye of the Hurricane, presented by Coastline Contractors. I'm your host, Chad Choate, and as always, I'm joined by the head football coach of the Manatee Hurricanes, Jacquez Green. We want to thank you for joining us as we talk everything Manatee football. Coach, let's jump into last week's game, first round of the playoffs, regional quarterfinal against a familiar foe, Pinellas Park. They were in our district. We talked about that last week and how is that going to be playing them again. Ended up winning 55-26, kind of a tale of two halves a little bit defensively, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But our highest output of the season, I believe, and really a game offensively that had tons of points, but really good possessions. I think we only punted once and turnover on downs or fumbled once, and then scored every other possession. But give us your recap of the game last week against Pinellas Park.
I thought we was really efficient, considering that we haven't played in 21 days. I thought that Andrew did a great job of spreading the ball around, throwing the ball very accurately. Keyshawn ran the ball tough, ran the ball very hard. I gave him the ball almost 30 times. That's the most he's ran the football since he's been at Manatee High School. So I thought we did well, and I thought we did a good job of each time they score, we'll come back and respond and keep the lead for our team.
Well, let's talk a little about the offense first. You say coming off of a 2-3 weeks, almost obviously not having any game, obviously practicing. I thought that the run game. Let's talk about the run game first. You mentioned Keyshawn, I think close to 170 yards and 4 touchdowns, maybe 5 touchdowns. Yeah. But it was a sneaky 170 yards. He really didn't have like that break of a 35-yarder or a 50-yarder that really padded those numbers. It was a sneaky. All of a sudden, we said, "Man, he's already at 107 yards," and it was smaller chunks. But I love the way, and I know you want to be physical and run the ball. What was the decision to say, "Hey, we're gonna put the ball in Keyshawn's hands and go"?
Well, he was just doing a good job. Even when and the thing about it, we never got hit for a loss, so we was always getting yards, maybe 3 or 4. He may popped it out there and got 25 this time or 14, but it was always we was consistently getting yards. And even the times that we didn't get a lot of yards, we was maybe one cut away or one block away from making the big game. And Keyshawn's the type of back that the more you give it to him, eventually the defense is going to wear it down. Agreed. And once one person misses a tackle, Keyshawn can go to the house and score a touchdown. And I thought our guys did a good job of coming off offensively. They looked confident in what we were doing offensively, and also gave us a chance to be balanced, be able to throw the ball in, be able to run the ball. When we can be balanced, we're pretty tough for a defense to stop.
Well, one thing, Coach, you mentioned, obviously Keyshawn, and he can be very explosive. And as the game goes on, I talk about this all the time during the broadcast, is, he may go for 2 yards this time, but that same play all of a sudden could flip for 20, for 50, for touchdown. And I think he gets better as the game goes on. One thing I love about Keyshawn is he's, and it seemed like there was some words being exchanged and some things like that with some players, and he gets a little fired up a little bit, and which I think helps him run the ball more effectively.
He is one of the most competitive guys I've ever coached. He's competitive. He's not going to let another person get the best of him. For him to be small, he's a physical runner. He'll try to run through guys. He's good in pass protection. He'll step in front of them big linebackers blitzing. So he's just a tough guy. And those guys were doing a lot of yapping the other night. So until the thing happened with Nick at the end, I was proud of them for not retaliating and holding, staying back from doing some, because they were doing some weird things on the field. And it started from the beginning of the game, and the referees let it get out of control as the game went along.
Well, I think from the perspective of if we're going to be out for 21 days and not having the game speed and the motion of playing a game, running the ball is probably the most effective thing to kind of get everybody's pads clacking a little bit and moving forward. Because if we do talk about offensively, I thought that Andrew, although finished with 330 some odd yards and 4 or 5 touchdown passes and did a great job, in the beginning it wasn't Andrew. Things just looked a little bit off, right? And I don't know if that was the game speed and the delay, the time off. But looked a little bit off, and obviously in the second half, completely destroyed.
He was kind of rusty early on. He missed a few throws and made a few throws behind him. He missed some uncharacteristic reads that he usually makes. As the game went along and the run game got going, he started getting his groove back, and he finished the game very strong.
Yeah, that was 334 total yards of passing for him. Looking at some of the more offensive stats, obviously Jalen Bryant, unbelievable game. I think 6 catches, 170 yards. 3 or 4 touchdowns for him. I think everybody's like, wait a minute, where's, looking at Jalen, he wasn't one of the guys in the beginning of the year, but has really progressed as the year has gone on as a guy who number one, we saw Friday night can go up and get a 50-50 ball better than almost, maybe anybody. He's phenomenal going to get it. But also just his once he gets the ball, that yards after catch, he can go to the house whenever.
Jalen's a good player, man. Early on, I think he was splitting time with Ramsey, so it's really his job now, the X receiver. And the X receiver is an important part of the offense. You got the man double teams at the X, or you got to be able to win one-on-ones. And Jalen can win one-on-one. Andrew is comfortable giving him the ball when we have mirror routes on both sides. And he's really been dominant the last 2 games. So hopefully he keeps that up for the next couple of games. For the next 3 or 4 games we're in the playoffs. And you can't just double Jalen, because at the same time, Torrey had over 100 yards receiving.
Right.
And AJ had 3 or 4 catches early in the game. So we have a good group of receivers where you can't just double one guy and think you're going to have a good chance of winning.
Correct. Yeah, you really can't drop. And they try to bracket a little bit, Jalen here and there, and then that just leaves somebody else open. And I say one of the best throws of the night, to be honest, and Jalen, I think, was the receiver that caught the touchdown. Went doubles on the side. I thought it was going to go the corner. I think it was a 4th down play. I thought we were going to go corner to either AJ or Farrakhan, and it was a nice slant, right to Jalen Bryant, and of course Andrew puts a dime on it, and what a great throw and catch, and I think people don't understand is you get closer to the goal line offensively, and that field starts shrinking a little bit. Balls get there faster to you, right?
Yeah.
Play calling is a little bit, you can't go as deep, obviously, in yardage, but I think he's absolutely electric. I'll say when going into halftime, we're only up 28-26 at the time. We got about 30 seconds left. And we were kind of talking about on the broadcast, what do we do? Are we going to go for it? We thought, we don't think you're going to take a knee. You might as well go for it. I think we had a couple timeouts at the time. And of course, you called a great play like it was scripted, right? To have Torrey Gilly go 80 yards for a touchdown.
Well, at the time, I was thinking about taking it in, but I said, hold on, let's run one more play. And I wanted something safe that's easy to run. I knew them guys would be soft on defense because they're not trying to let anybody get past them in the second half. And Torrey is probably one of the most electric guys I got in open field.
I did not know he had speed like that.
He can make the first guy would never tackle Torrey. He's got quick feet. He can accelerate. So I was like, we get Torrey the ball in space, he might can do something. We get a lot of blockers out in front, so you never know what happened. And it was a new type of screen, though. We throw it out to him most of the time, just a regular screen. But this time we faked the run and pulled some linemen the opposite way that freed some linebackers. And it hit perfectly. So
yeah, we knew Torrey is elusive and can make people miss and that sort of thing. I did not know he had straight line speed like that. And we all, Danny and I, the broadcast, looked at each other like, that was Torrey Gilly. We expect that from some of the other guys that we've seen with some of the straight line speed, Keyshawn being one of them. But Torrey really just he found that crease and went, and it really explosive.
He may not be fast as some of our other guys, but he's faster than a lot of other people defensive backs.
Sure.
So that's the type of speed he has. And Torrey plays at one speed. Torrey going to play full speed every play, every snap. I've never seen him take a rep or come off the football at half speed. He always play full go.
Well, so we go into halftime 35-26. At that point, the defense, we'll flip a little bit. The defense side definitely looked rusty. That's probably the most explosive plays that we've given up in a game so far this year. Pinellas Park never really drove down the field on us to score. It was all explosive plays that led to their touchdowns. And I think Coach Beatty and maybe yourself gave a little pep talk to the defense maybe a second at halftime. But do you really equate that to some of that rustiness? Was everybody's you can't really in practice do full tackling anymore. The game speed, you can't emulate that. You can't emulate the emotions you have in the game. I think the defense was just a little bit slow in that first half.
It was just bad ball. Some of the places, they gave us a motion, a wing motion out. The cornerback sitting up flat. I'm like, you got to get back so you can see what's going on. He ran by him. He was in place to make the play. He couldn't make the play. Big touchdown. We had a backup edge guy in the game. We had a backup edge guy in the game on the screen, and they wasn't communicating. Some of them playing 4, some of them playing cover 0. So when they ran the screen, nobody backside. Another time we had a double post with an X deep cross for a touchdown. Yep. The cornerback should have been playing man-to-man on the X coming across.
Sure.
He let him go like he was playing zone. So it was just a matter of us not having played football in a while, not communicating well, and we didn't tackle very good. K4 said he probably had his worst game since he's been playing there. A lot of guys diving into the ground, not keeping their head up when they tackling. And wasn't back to his level that he wanted to be at yet.
Sure.
Hopefully we all back in football mode this coming game, because a lot of our guys hadn't played not only 21 days, but they hadn't did nothing in a long time also.
Sure. When you're playing against your own offense during practice, especially this time of the year, you kind of know what your offense does, right?
Yeah.
And so you're kind of anticipating that. Now all of a sudden you flip to another team and not being able to play other teams and not getting in that mode of really having to watch other teams and watch film and get ready for the teams. You can kind of get lackadaisical a little bit. But, hey, kudos to Pinellas Park as well. I mean, they had some good plays. I thought that last big 40-yard touchdown was a nice, the number one receiver was uptight. And you said he was supposed to be man-to-man. But they come all the way across, a little sail route all the way across. Wasn't a bad play at all.
I thought they did a good job of scheming us up offensively. He had some even some of the plays they didn't hit, he had a good thought process behind the plays. So I thought they did a good job. That was the second time they played us. So I thought the coach did a good job of scheming up ways to beat us, knowing how we adjust to certain formation, knowing how we play certain formations.
I think obviously in the second half we come out and they don't score any points in the second half. I felt like our intensity was back where it should be. The rust is knocked off and that sort of thing. Well, looking at total from the defensive side, I think rushed for under 50 yards.
Yeah.
Hey, you stopped the run, that's great. Next thing is you got to stop the explosive plays. Did in the first half, we did in the second half, and that's why we blanked them in the second half. Moving forward, I thought our third down percentage on defense was very good. Going back to our offense, I think our fourth down percentage was great. We're 2 for 3 on fourth downs in the game. And is there a time when, is there a place on the field where you're like, we're going for it on fourth down no matter what? Or are you guys into to the ESPN analytics where they'll show up on the screen 71% chance of getting this first down?
It's a feel for me. It's the combination of how we playing well on offense or how we playing well on defense. If we shutting them out on defense and they can't really move the ball, I feel better about going for it on offense. Or if we can't stop them on offense, we can't stop them on defense, I have to go for an offense and try to keep the ball a lot longer. So it's just a feel for what's going on at that point in the game and what part of the field we're on based on whether we can punt the ball, not kick it in the end zone, or attempt the field goal. So it's just a matter of feel for the game.
Special teams was a spot where I thought we maybe took a step back, and again, probably a lot of it not game action and game speed. They get a kickoff return for a touchdown. We've been really good on kickoff returns all year. And then, just not being able to kick as deep as we have been in the past and allowing them to start in better field position. I think in that first half kind of is what added to all the points that they scored.
I thought that's what we struggled mostly on from not playing. No, we didn't cover kicks well, and that's hard to. It's already hard to do that in practice without going full speed.
Yeah.
So I think one time Ronan fell down in the lane, and,
right in the middle
and
of it.
Peter ran left and left a big old hole in there. And we had a backup kicker. Starting kicker's back was hurt, so we couldn't put the ball down deep in the corners we wanted to. And so we kept popping it up kind of short. And number one was their best player, so he'd catch it. He was making us pay for it. And that was a part of the thing that our defense struggled with. Also, the fact that they kept having short field. Because I think he broke out 2 or 3 long kicks, and they were starting on the other side of the 50, 3 or 4 drives. So second half, I think we started squibbing it down there, making sure that he couldn't get his hands on the football. And at that point, we started making them start their drives a lot more backed up.
I think the last thing really about the game, and it's all about winning and moving on this time of year, no doubt. And obviously, 55-26 is an impressive win. But I think going back and looking at the film and want to get your opinion on it, I think this is the highest penalties we've had all year. And I think we had about 8 or 9 penalties in the game. And some of that may be equated to, and I kind of feel like it is, again, not playing and kind of getting back into that motion because there's no rest out on the practice field.
I didn't even know it was that many penalties until I read the newspaper. Like I knew they was throwing all the flags, and it was a lot of stuff going on after plays, and it was holding here and holding there and chipping this. But I didn't realize there was that many flags after the game. So hopefully we can shore that up, and the guys can remember to keep their hands inside. But a lot of the stuff was just, I think guys playing on the edge. Cause one time Derek buried the guy. They say he jumped on the pile.
Yeah.
One time AJ and this guy was scuffling, and they went over to the sideline. They threw AJ a flag because he got the better other guy.
Sure,
Basically, because
sure.
if the guy went through AJ, he probably got the flag. So hopefully we can stay under control, and the referees can keep the game under control a lot better early in the game, because I think they was letting so much go on early in the game that it started getting out of hand by the second half. Especially when the team they're out of it, season over, when they about to go home. They trying anything at that point. So hopefully the referees can keep the game under control from the start to the finish, and our guys can do a better job of playing their control and not making penalties.
And unfortunately, that comes down to towards the end of the game there, and unfortunately we get an ejection. They do, and so do we. And obviously they're not hurt by it because they don't play anymore. But our starting center is now out for at least the next game. But good thing is we've had a different center in there half the games before, and I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, Aiden's started at center for like a couple of years now. He just has a ton of starts at center. He was actually started at center before Nick became the starter at center. So we feel comfortable with him in there. Andrew feel comfortable with Aiden. So I think we'll be okay. And the guys around him have got so much better since the last time he started that I think we should be fine. Nick was a good presence there at center. He was a good leader. He's one of the older guys on the offensive line, and younger guys looked up to him. So hopefully we can get him back sooner than later.
Yeah, well, we got to win to get him back, right, for the next game. So we'll stay right here. We're going to take a quick break here from our sponsors. You are listening to In the Eye of the Hurricane. Welcome back to In the Eye of the Hurricane. I'm here with Coach Green. Coach, we talked a little bit about our big round one victory versus Pinellas Park. Let's jump into round two, regional semifinal. We'll host it here again at home against the Immokalee Indians, a program that has had a lot of star players, Edrin James, etc. They come into the game 10-1 last week, beat Cape Coral by 7 points. I think 26-19 was the final in that game. As you've prepared over the weekend and through the week of practice, what do you see from Immokalee from offensive defensive standpoint?
Immokalee is a school that has a lot of pride. They won the state championship in 2004. I think they went to the state title and lost to Gabi in 2012. They've had a bunch of guys go to the NFL, a bunch of guys in the NFL as of today. They're a one-town school, so everybody from from elementary, middle school on up goes to Immokalee High School. So it's going to be a team with a lot of pride. They're a farming-type community, so they believe in hard work down that area. It's going to be a tough team that loves football. So and their style of play is a reflection of their community. They're a hard-nosed run team. Seem like they have some kind of wing T roots from when they run the ball at. Now they try to do a split back wing type scheme.
Yeah.
I think that's where they're their best at. They're in a split back wing set, and they run a wing T principle. So they have two backs with over 1,200 yards rushing. Both those guys can go to the house if you don't tackle them. They have an offensive line that blocks well and can pull and create extra gaps. So they're a good football team. And they're also having their best season they've had in probably 8 or 9 years. So that's the thing about it. You see so many teams in the playoffs who have the best season they had in a while. That means the team is coming here very confident and they think they can win this game.
I think this will be the furthest game they've traveled. It will be us, I believe, if I remember correctly on their schedule. So, how do you react to traveling and hopefully, the environment's great at Hawkins Stadium. And so let's talk a little bit about their offense. You talk about that split back. When we talk about split back, it means quarterbacks typically in the shotgun, 2 backs, 1 left, 1 right of them. From a defensive standpoint, our defense, what are we looking at? What is Coach Bate and his staff really concentrating on this week as you prepare for that split back? Because, you can go left or right, right? And you can pull, you can do a lot of option plays, things like that. What does the defense have to prepare to be able to stop the run attack like that?
Well, the first thing, you got to be aligned correctly. You got to be aligned correctly. You can't give those guys extra gaps or be out-gapped. Second thing, we got to make sure we got guys on dive, quarterback in the pitch, because even though they do a lot of basic run game, they always come back with some type of option scheme to their run game. So we have to be sound on that. And I think that you have to watch the guards. Most of their run plays, regardless of what they do, is either power or counter. So you have to watch the guards and see which way they pull it. And so if we own that kind of stuff and we're very physical on the edge, I think we'll have a chance to play their run game and make them have to throw the ball a lot more than they plan on throwing the football. So. But they're a physical team up front. They do what they do well. I watched some earlier games of theirs, and they was more spread, trying to throw the ball around. I think, over time, the coach no, let's just do what we do.
Yeah.
That's not us. Let's just play physical football, hand the ball off, and let's just run through people. So They do it. They do a good job. They do it well. They have good plays, offer their base plays that can keep you guessing, keep you wondering where the football is located at. But everything is based off of wing T principles when you really look at it from afar.
Yeah, I think one of the things is keys, right? You gotta make sure you're watching your keys every play. From a defensive standpoint, you can't be lazy and not watch those keys, whether it be the guard or the running back. Make sure you're fundamentally sound. Whoever's guarding that quarterback has the dive, has the quarterback, has the pitch. And I think which can cause a lot of pressure on the defense because you miss it one time and they could be out the gate. And I do agree. I think watching film this week of them, I think they did a little too much in the beginning, and now they're more refined to what they do really well, which is run the ball. And like you mentioned, they got two backs over 1,300 yards total. I think number 3 and number 7. Quarterback's got 300 or 400 yards himself.
He's a good runner too.
So he can take it in the house.
Quarterback has good speed. He's a good runner. Sometimes they'll have rollout passes or whatever. He'll tuck it and get positive yards. So I think all three of those guys are good athletes in the backfield.
But I think you talk about this almost every week. If you can stop the run and make someone one-dimensional, and I think in this game it's even more important because they've only thrown they average about 100, a little over 119 yards, something like that, a game passing. So they're not going to be some pass proficient, come out and wing the ball around. I think he's only got 11 touchdowns on the year throwing it. So their passing game is not what they want to do. So I think we can stop them and become one-dimensional to where they got to press a little bit and do some things they're not really used to doing. It bodes well for the Hurricanes.
They don't throw the ball well. No, in my opinion, they don't throw the ball well. But they do run the football well, and they do have a good scheme. And they attack you in the A gap, the B gap, the C gap. They can get into some things when they faking it right and handing the ball back off left. So you got to be sound, you got to be on your keys, and you got to be able to tackle in the secondary. Because sometimes the guy gonna get in the secondary, and number 7's a big back, so you got to be able to come up and then wrap him up and get him on the ground.
I think counterplays is something that I don't think in high school is used enough because of just, these are young kids that having to the read keys and things like that. I think counterplays can absolutely hurt defenses, especially in the high school level. Let's talk a little about their defense, our offense going against their defense. You're not going to give us any of the game plan or the secrets, but what do you see from their defensive side and what's their scheme and the style they like to run?
They mostly are a 4-3 defense. They'll walk with the Sam out the box against anytime the slot formation. If you go 2-by-2 formation, they'll walk both guys out. They'll cover 4 defense in the secondary. They're really trying to keep the ball in front of them.
Yeah.
They don't look very good in the secondary, but I'm sure those are good athletes because a couple of them play wide receiver on offense. And
they do have a couple guys going both ways.
Yeah, they got some couple of guys going both ways. Their big, tall defense ends also plays tackle. Their guard also plays defensive tackle. So they got a bunch of guys going both ways. I think they make their money as a team on offense. I think their defense is a bend, don't break, don't give up big plays on defense. They do hustle and get to the football. They hustle and get to the football, and they're trying to keep the ball in front of them in the secondary. They mostly, kind of like a picket fence back there. We're just going to get back and not get the ball over our head, and which should be good for them because a team that runs the ball as much as they do, they not send a bunch of passes in practice, during camp and what have you. So I think we'll be the best offense they've gone against that can throw the football. I think Naples beat them pretty good earlier, but Naples more of a split back veer team that runs the ball a lot. So it'll be tough for them to see our pass game, but it'll also be tough for our defense to go against their run game. So.
Well, and look, stats can be deceiving because not everybody keeps up with stats. I think as well as your staff does, and inputting them in max preps. But it seems to me there may be some defensive stats missing because there's nobody really with over 100 or over 50 tackles. They've only got 2 interceptions. I think they only had like 3 sacks on the year. So maybe there's some stats there. But also it could be from a standpoint of, especially from an offense that runs the ball like theirs does, maybe their defense just really isn't on the field that much because they're eating up time and eating up the clock.
Yeah, that could be it. They probably not seeing that many snaps defensively. And a good defense, you shouldn't have one guy with a bunch of tackles. It should be spread out. It should be one guy with 70 and one guy with 60-some and 40-some. If you got one guy with 118 tackling, the next highest tackler got like 50 or 60, something wrong defensively. Right. So I think those guys are probably a good defense as a group. I think their offense probably be on the field a lot, running 50, 60 plays. They probably won't be on defense, but 30 or 40 plays. So. And teams probably behind having to throw the football against those guys.
Sure.
So I think they're a solid defense. I think they're better as a whole than the parts of their defense.
Well, as I've looked and analyzed it throughout the week and talking to folks and that sort of thing, when you start really looking at a team and who they are and who they've played, I definitely think obviously our strength of schedule is what put us at the number 1 seed in the region, number 2 seed overall in 5A, and almost a number 1 seed in 5A. And our competition, I think, is far superior than what they've played. I think they've played 4 teams that have only won 1 game this year, a couple more teams that are kind of below 500. I think they have two teams that are 6-4 and 7-3. And so I like to look at it as from a standpoint of who in their schedule matches us best. And I think it was Naples, right? I think if you look at their schedule, that Naples game was definitely competition-wise. Naples is very close to us more so than anyone else they played. Now, granted, it was in the beginning of the year, and we talked about this a little bit. They were doing some things maybe they don't do now. But if we're going to do a barometer test, that to me is the game. Now, obviously, Naples beats them 47-0. And, again, stats are weird. There was only about 8 yards of passing in that game on Max Preps. So I don't know if that's really true or not. I didn't get to watch that film. But when you're looking at teams, especially teams we don't play, right? Immokalee, we haven't played, and I don't know if we've ever played them, to be honest. So do you ever look at the schedule like that? Like I just said, hey, what's the teams that are kind of equal to what we are, that we know where their talent level is at, and how did they perform against them, and how they compete against them?
Yeah, when you first trade film, you get the last 2 games, and at that time I see how good those teams are. Then I want to get a big time team or a strong team and see how they play against that team. So. But I don't think because a team beat this team and a team lost to this team, therefore you're going to lose this team. I don't think football works like that. I think football is about matchups.
Any given night, you never know.
It's about matchups. It's how you match up with that team based on their strength and how they match up to your team based on their strength. So, but I do look at the schedule and try to see what type of teams they play against and call some coaches up and get some feedback of what type of team they are, how they are. Because you can watch film all day, but until you see a team in person and stuff like that, it's totally different. Because I've seen some teams on film and then seen them in person, they look like giants in person compared to what they look like on film. So,
tell me about this week's practice. Bouncing back obviously from the win round 1, moving on to this week. How's practice been this week? How's the team taking the victory and kind of watching it and moving forward to the next week?
Kids really moved on. No, I think they moved on. They haven't really been talking about the last game in practice. I think some of the defensive guys were not happy with the way they played last week. K4 told me it was the worst game since he's been here, which is good. A lot of kids don't think they did the best thing since sliced bread. So for him to say that means he really took a good look at the film, and I expect them to come out and play a lot better than they played last week. Hopefully we can continue moving the ball on offense. And as far as practice went this week, we had a good week of practice. Yesterday was very crisp, very fast practice. I think we got in and got the feeling like an hour, and that practice usually takes like an hour, about 35 minutes. So it was a good practice. We've been getting good reps in. We really been pounding their heads about reading their keys and reading the guards and watching the wings flying across the formation, and defensive backs not going to sleep because they run the football, because they will run it, and next thing you know, they'll play action the ball. So we got to be on it. We got to be sound, and we got to tackle. The main thing this week is tackling.
Yeah. Well, I know you don't. I know you as coaches, I know you're worried about this week, but I get the luxury of being able to look at other games and what ifs and things that could happen. And really some big surprise in 5A was Mosley losing to Fleming Island up there in the Panhandle. That was something I didn't really expect. Niceville Lincoln they still won and play. Lakeland obviously is playing. I believe they play Tempe Tech this week.
Tech got Edgewater.
Oh, Tempe, that'll be a great game.
Yeah,
that'll be a very good game. And just watching the games around the region. If the winner of our game against Immokalee will play the winner of Riverdale and Fort Myers, which again we've kind of been talking about that whole region down there, and they all played each other, and it's almost a 3-way tie. And you can flip a coin maybe with Riverdale and Fort Myers and see who wins down there. But I don't want to put you on the spot, but are you ever looking at the bracket saying, hey, here's what happens? And I know we got to focus on today.
Well, I looked at it early on, and I realized in our region, which is Region 3, that we were like the only team that wasn't from down that area.
Yeah.
Because everybody else had played each other or played a bunch of common opponents. I always looked at Region 1 because I used to coach up there at Lincoln, and we used to play against Niceville, and Mosley got beat, but Fleming Island, pretty good team. They like 8-2.
Yeah.
And Fleming Island is, and when you come from different parts of the state, that's always, you never know who's going to win.
Yeah.
Because that part of the state could be playing a lot better football in that part of the state, and they may be 9-0 or 10-0, but they probably haven't played as good as teams as this team playing in that part of the state. But Fleming Island's having a good season. They got a big-time quarterback, and they'll play Lincoln next. And Mosley got knocked out, so that leaves Lincoln and probably Niceville as the front runners in Region 1 right now.
Agreed.
Region 2 is up for grabs. Region 2 probably the toughest region of all of them. You got a big-time matchup with Tampa Bay Tech and Edgewater, and the winner probably get Lakeland.
Yeah.
So both of those rounds will be
that regional final game will be very good.
Both of those rounds will be excellent. So there's a lot of football left. There's a lot of good teams left. So the last 8 teams left in 5, they're going to be all big-time powerhouses. Well,
I expect Friday night it's going to be great weather.
Yeah.
I think we should have a good crowd. We're the only Manatee County team left after, fortunately, Palmetto loses Saturday to Largo. Parish Community lost to Mitchell on last Friday. So we're the last team standing here in Manatee County. So we should have a great crowd, and obviously it's going to be really, really good weather. So make sure you're out there Friday, 7:30, Joe Crennan Field at Hawkins Stadium. We need everybody there. We'll also be live streaming it on ManateeFootball.com, Manatee Football's YouTube page as well. You can get your tickets at gofayan.co and get those in advance. We'll see you all Friday night. Thanks for watching In the Eye of the Hurricane. As always, go Canes, go.